We often talk about the establishment in politics. We talk about it on the Young Turks, the establishment media talks about it, but they refer to the establishment as a collection of people, senators, congressmen, party officials, etc. That is not the establishment. So I want to be clear with you guys and give you a better understanding of who actually runs politics. See, the donors run politics. Everybody else is a water boy. Senators and politicians, they take orders. They're given checks to run for office, and then afterwards they're given large checks for their personal reasons. Hillary Clinton with the speeches she gives to the banks. Chris Dodd gets hired by the Motion Picture Association. Evan Bayh, almost all the Republicans go and work either for private equity, Wall Street, or one of the corporations that they have been servicing throughout their careers. Now, that's the true establishment. The rest are just order takers. So among the establishment figures, the donors, who looms large? Well, there's one company that looms very large, Goldman Sachs. And Bloomberg News explains the firm ranks among the 15 biggest donors to federal candidates and committees dating back to 2001, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. Now, you can tell which way the voting is going to go, oftentimes by which way the money is going to go, and you can tell which way the money is going to go by which way Goldman Sachs is going to go. Not every time, but oftentimes. In fact, did you know that the top donors to President Obama's campaign back in 2008 were the big banks, including Goldman Sachs? Now they have switched, and they're largely on the Republican side. So campaign contributions for 2016 so far go 61% to Republicans. So where's the money? The money is on the GOP side. Now that's not surprising because the GOP is saying, we promise we will not regulate you, Goldman Sachs. We'll let you run amok, do whatever you want, take any kind of risk you want. And then in the past, they have bailed them out. And so when you look at the specific candidates, well, the establishment candidate is very clear. For a long time, they gave the most amount of money to Jeb Bush. They have given total contributions of $773,000 to Jeb Bush's campaign. But recently, that story has changed as his campaign has been a disastrous failure. So in the fourth quarter, you know how much Jeb Bush got from Goldman Sachs? A paltry $2,950. You know what that means? Short him. Pull the shoot. This guy's not going to make it. It's a losing investment bailout. So they are now investing their money in a new direction. So which way are Goldman Sachs employees contributing now? Well, in the fourth quarter, they have given mainly to Marco Rubio. So he has gotten $107,000 just in the fourth quarter of 2015. That's the last 3 months. And so it's obvious who the establishment has as their favorite candidate today. Now, there is one other person involved in the mix on the Republican side, and one other person you should take note of. On the Republican side, we're told, the least establishment candidate, perhaps outside of Donald Trump, is Ted Cruz. The senators don't like him. The Washington people don't like him. Wait a minute. Goldman Sachs apparently does like him. Fourth quarter contributions to Ted Cruz is $52,000. That's a lot of money. In fact, that's more money than the rest of the Republican field combined when you take out Rubio and Bush. In fact, you can keep Bush in there for the fourth quarter. All other Republican candidates got only $19,000 outside of the top two. So, wait a minute, I thought Cruz was Mr. Anti-Establishment. No. First of all, his wife worked at Goldman Sachs, so of course that tilts the scales in this particular company. But also, it goes to show you, he's not that anti-Goldman Sachs. His wife makes a ton of money from Goldman Sachs. He's on sabbatical now to help him with his campaign. In fact, did you know that Goldman Sachs gave a very low-interest loan to Ted Cruz to help him in his 2012 Senate run? And did you know that Ted Cruz has taken $36 million for his super PACs from just 4 donors? 2 of them are brothers, so it's basically 3 sets of people who have given him $36 million to do what? Well, 3 of them are in fracking, so they wanted to make sure they killed off the subsidies for other energy companies and other parts of the energy industry. Mission accomplished. Check. That's exactly what Ted Cruz is in favor of. So lower taxes for all those millionaires and billionaires? Check. Ted Cruz is totally in favor of it. He wants to demolish the IRS. So when they say the establishment is against Ted Cruz, don't believe the hype. The donors still like Ted Cruz a lot. It depends on which donor, but in the case of Goldman Sachs, who was a pretty good arbiter of which way the money's going to go in the long run, they don't mind Ted Cruz at all. But again, there is one other person that's very relevant here, and she is not a Republican. The other person who's received a lot of money from Goldman Sachs is Hillary Clinton. $32,000 in just the fourth quarter. That's third behind Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. $103,000 total from Goldman Sachs employees so far. And then also an additional $100,000 to her super PAC. So when she says, as she did a day before the Iowa election, I'm going to go take on the establishment and the big companies in the financial industry. If by take on, she means take on all the money they're giving me, that's true. Goldman Sachs has actually given her about $675,000 to put in her pocket, not for her campaign. That's after she left her government position and before she started running for president. She gave speeches, and she would get $200,000 for a speech, $200,000 for a couple hours of your time. Nobody's got that much wisdom. That's basically Goldman Sachs saying, good job for all of your past services and a little down payment on future services. So if you want to know who the establishment likes, it's these folks.